Elizabeth Woolsey. I'm a retired veterinarian. My quick story is I was raised in California. Pretty sure that Roy Rogers was my real father because my father was a horse vet and he was always gone. Well, guess what I became? A horse vet. And guess what my kids would say? She was always gone. So I want to talk to you today about some of the experiences that I had. And I have to say, I did a rescue the other day. And it was just out of the blue. Our county does not have any form of a rescue unit. A horse was stuck in a ditch upside down, and they didn't have, the fire department was unavailable, and when they did show up, they had no idea what to do. So fortunately, they had some of those wide web nylon ropes that I was able to use to pull the horse off to its side, move it around. We didn't have a glide. I don't know if you guys know what a glide is, but we didn't have that. And then flipped it over, and then I won't tell you how we got it up. But I never in a million years thought this horse would get up. Now I was a vet for over 35 years, and I did a lot of rescues. I also worked at 3 different veterinary schools, and I'm quite experienced for horses not getting up because I taught anesthesia. So I thought, there's no way this horse is going to get up, but it did, and it's still alive and doing really well. And it's like the first thing I've done in 3 years since I retired, so I was pretty excited. Of course, I wanted to put that on Facebook, and people said, oh no, my God, please don't, because everybody around here will find 25 ways to say that you did it wrong. And I'm going, yeah, the horse is up. Anyway, Lisa had asked me a long, long time ago to come and to speak to a group someplace. And I found out about Lisa and the EQUUS Arts and Film Festival, and I thought, gee, man, if I could win a ribbon or something with my books, I would be so excited. And I did the first year, and then I came back the next year and I did it again. And so it's not the Pulitzer Prize, but it's the ribbon and the trophy are sitting in the Booth Western Art Museum. Now I'm not sure if you guys know about that. It's been voted the best external Smithsonian museum in America, and it's all devoted to horses and Western art and kind of the periphery kind of things. It's a really big deal, and my book was sitting in the window of the display where they wanted to, acknowledge, because I'm a member of the Writers Guild. Well, I've been demoted. I'm now the president of it. So if you guys anybody's interested in writing and you live anywhere near, probably I would say the western part of Georgia, please get a hold of me and I'll get you going on it. It's a really good organization. And I have never taken anybody to that museum, and I take people that have never even been close to a horse, and they come back going, I can't believe that. That's probably the best thing that I've done. So I hope you guys at some stage will have a look at that. It's online, Booth Western Art Museum. Just check it out. Anyway, so I got kind of crazy towards the end of my retirement, or close to my retirement, end of my practice, and I thought, what the heck am I going to do? My father totally failed at retirement. Failed. He was back doing stuff here and there, little bits of stuff that he shouldn't have been doing, but he did, and I went, no, I'm not going to do that. And so one of the things that I did was I actually practiced in Australia for the last 30 years of my practice, and I did not renew my license there once I retired a week before the license was due, and I didn't renew. And so I don't have a veterinary license, so I can't go back and work. I do a lot of consulting. Last year I spoke at the veterinary conference for Washington State. I'm going back to Washington to talk to their backcountry horsemen, and I do a lot of speaking and things like that. I've actually even published a few extra papers since I've retired. But basically, my love is my writing now. Well, that and fly fishing. So I moved to Georgia. I live up in the mountains, and I just live in this idyllic place where I fish. I ride during the summer with my friend Nancy, who brings her horses up from Florida to get out of the heat, and then she takes them back in the winter, and it's kind of wintry anyway, so it's okay with me. But since I've been in Aiken, just driving through, and I just got here, I'm thinking, boy, if they had trout here, this is so beautiful. I'd be interested. I'd be real interested. But I don't think you have trout. So anyway, I'll stick with where I am. 2 years before I retired again, I wrote my first book. And I started sending a few pages to really critical people. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the most critical people in my life are my sisters. I mean, there is nothing that I can't do that will pass. And pretty soon, their big thing is, what are you doing working? There's some bug here, sorry. What are you doing working? For goodness sakes, there's, you know, you need to be writing. I need some more chapters. And so I kind of thought, gee, maybe I'm onto something. So I started writing about, and the first book that I wrote is called The Travels of Dr. Rebecca Harper, A Matter of Time. And time is the key in all this, because she's a vet like me. She's a year older than me, so we're not the same. Let me just put it there. She's a year older. And she graduates from veterinary school, goes out to near Lake Tahoe to interview for a job and potentially buy a practice out near Lake Tahoe. She's married and she has a little girl, and she's in a rock slide, and she time travels back to the time of, let's see, what television program was near Lake Tahoe during the 50s and 60s? Bonanza. So I wrote this all using the Bonanza characters. And I taught, before I got too far along, my critical sister said, you better check with them. And I did, and they went, yeah, we're pretty much into that. We think that's a good idea. And I kept going on, and I kept saying, well, I kind of need to make sure, so can you just, you know, sign something or something like that? Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Well, a couple years later, we're still at, yeah, we will. And finally, I went, oh, man, come on. Do you work better with a deadline? If I say next month, and the guy said, well, it's just taking longer than I thought. And I'm still interested, and apparently he said he owned the rights. To this day, I'm not 100% sure. But he said, you know, we only own the names. And I went, bingo. So basically, my character, Rebecca Harper, time travels back to the 1800s and lives and meets the Buchanans. And the Buchanans is a father with 3 sons. Gee, what does that sound like? Anyway, in the town and near Virginia City, and now they couldn't copyright that. So they couldn't copyright Lake Tahoe. So the story goes on, and she wants to endear herself to these people, and she notices when she goes to their house, and she's still trying to figure out what the heck has happened, because she's not even 100% sure this is really what it is, but she sees a foal with what those people would call bandy legs, and you would call knock-kneed, and some people that are a lot more sophisticated, like me, would say carpus valgus, or carpal valgus, which means knock-kneed. And so here's a woman that has to deal with a foal. She can't x-ray it. There's no x-rays back in the 1800s. She can't ultrasound it. There were no ultrasounds even when she left school. And she has to deal with this. Well, it's well known for years and years, and without anything exciting, that if you just shave the outside of their hoof, you take the pressure off of the outside, and put the pressure on the inside of the hoof, and that translates up, and a lot of foals, that's all they need, and they will straighten out. So she does that. So that's the first story that I used, and it was very, I really thought long and hard about it, and I think she also did a dystocia. And of course, these people are very, they're very paternalistic and very macho, and they are not going to let a woman in on this. But she kind of finally, just steps in, reaches in, and pulls this foal's leg out that's cocked back. So over time, during the first book, and there's 4 books in this series, and I'm currently writing the 5th, other veterinary things come up. And I have to be really careful. You have to remember, well, what things would she know about? She wouldn't know about ultrasounds. She wouldn't know about new diseases. She would know about things like salmonella. She would know about anthrax and things like that. But there were things that I could not put in those books. And I have to always be mindful. Now, in the meantime, through various means, she gets an education for what's new or what's more up to date. I won't say how, got to read the books to see. But she does learn a few things. But basically, you're pretty limited on what you can do. So the stories are more about her and her life living with the characters that are similar to Bonanza. And there's lots of, fun things about it, like, I don't know if you guys, did you ever watch that series, any of you? Okay. Well, men spanked women. Now, that is not something she was going to put up with. And they were chauvinistic. They were very racist. And even as good as Hop Sing had it, he still ate in the kitchen. And so these were things that she wanted and tried to change in her character and her time. So those kind of things come up. But as far as veterinary medicine, she's pretty limited on what she can do. So the next book that I wrote, I didn't bring it. Okay, so that's this book here. The next book, I forgot to bring the copy of it, is a book called Small Town Secrets. And of course I lived in Australia, and I practiced in a rural area of South Australia. And so I wrote a story about a young vet who would be much younger than me, who would have all the modern things known to man, who moves to this very rural area. I never say the town, but I'm thinking of a town called Burra, and it's a real town. And she's accused of murder. And she's accused of drugging her babysitter and this older woman with phenobarbital. In the process of all of this, she meets a much younger vet who's also from America, and she negotiates the legal system. And of course, she does do some veterinary work until she's let go because of her potential conviction. And we do some reproduction. She goes out with another young vet, and she does a cattle C-section, and she really does much more modern things. So that one was an easy one to do. Now, the next book that I wrote was called Catch and Release, and that's a series as well. There's 3 books in that series. I will do a 4th, but it's a long ways off. So in this one, a woman who was very much like me, was raised in America, married an Australian, moved to Australia like me, got a divorce like me, had kids like me, and then she decided to retire and move to the mountains in America so she could fish, write books, and fly fish like me. The thing is, she did it before I did it. It's exactly, I followed her. Now, I had planned to, but I didn't plan to quite as much as it actually ended up being. I'm sorry, I got a cold, there's no question about it. That's why I'm kind of sitting away from everybody. And I've got a little bit of I'm apparently getting a bit of a cough. So, and I'm COVID negative, let's make that really clear. So, there's all kinds of stories that come from that, but in that book, she develops this relationship with this horse, which we named Digger. And he's a quarter horse. He's a well-trained, beautiful horse. She can do just about anything with him. And he, at the very end of the book, he breaks with diarrhea. Now, I have a lot of people that have warned me about writing books. Anybody can die, but never let the horses die. Never. So, yes, ma'am. So, yes, sir. So, I have to give a cause for this diarrhea and a treatment. And so, here's an interesting thing. So, you guys, you've heard of Potomac horse fever. Yep. Okay, do y'all vaccinate for it here or not? Don't? Okay. Well, there is a vaccine. I'm pretty sure it's still out. Potomac horse fever was named for the East Coast and near the Potomac River, where a whole bunch of horses got the spirochete. It's a little spirochete, kind of like a bacteria. And the person that actually discovered the life cycle and what was really causing it is a fellow named John Madigan. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of John Madigan, but he's a very famous veterinarian from UC Davis. He and I were undergraduate classmates together, and he got into vet school way before me and got out and started practicing, and then moved back into academia. Curious man, very interesting man. He is one of the gods of veterinary medicine for horses. And he went up to Northern California, where I first practiced, and found the same disease. Although they didn't know it was the same at the time, but it didn't take long to figure out it was the same. And he discovered the life cycle. It had been in Northern California for a long time. So when I moved up there, I met an older vet up there, and he said, and I was going to do some relief work for him. And he said, get ready for what we call the Shasta shits, which is he says it's diarrhea. We don't know where it comes from, but it's a spirochete, and I can show you it. It's in the manure. If you get one of these, this is how you treat it. And he said, you give it tetracycline and a lot of fluids, and you pray a lot. Well, it turned out it was the exact same disease. And so he said, when I have a case and you're around, I'll show you what that spirochete looks like. Nobody that I know of has ever seen the spirochete in the manure, but they have found it in the blood, and they can do these PCRs and tests like that to tell that you have that. He was that guy. So anyway, I wrote about it in this book where this girl does this and kind of wins the respect of these two old vets. And then I've written a book, and this is a book that, I don't know if any of you have young people that want to be vets, but this is for young people. This is a YA book, young adult. I wouldn't give it to a 6-year-old because there's a lot of, there is some euthanasia in there, and animals die, but I've noticed, I can't begin to tell you how many people I've met that have gone all the way through veterinary school and then quit because they just can't handle the level of euthanasia. Now these tend to be small animal people because you do a lot of euthanasia for not really good reasons, whereas in equine, generally it's a good reason. I can think of 1 or 2 horses that I euthanized where the horse was okay, but the client wasn't. And I was, like, I will say one of them was, one of my old clients in California actually had metastatic colon cancer, and he was young. And he had a wife and 2 small kids, and he had a lot of horses. And he was able to sell all but 2 of them. And the 2 were left, and he knew he had days to live, and he asked me to do it, and I did. Other than that, and I kept saying, can I please just find him homes? No, I just need to know. I'm not going to live much longer. I need to know that my wife is not going to be burdened with this. And I did it. So I've never forgotten that. You know, it's not like something that I like that I did, but I did do it. But small animal vets, because they're under the pressure of their boss, have to do it a lot, and they don't like it. Well, this book, this is a tell-all. This is not, you know, we're not petting kittens and puppies in this book. It's real life stories, and it's done really well. It was like number 2 on Amazon in a certain category for, you know, young kids for careers or something at one stage, and I think it sits usually below 20 most of the time. Anyway, that's a book that you might be interested. All these books you can find on Amazon. So then I'm going to stop with this last one. This is called Match the Hatch. This is book 3 in what I call the Catch and Release series. And that's Digger. You can't see it right there, but that's Digger. Anyway, so she tells a story, and this is again a true story about a Christmas Eve happening. And so this really happened to me. So I work every Christmas Eve no matter what, because it's the breeding season in Australia. And so I'm still breeding mares, I'm still doing stuff. I can't ever remember not having a case at the clinic, except for one time. And that one time, about 2 days before Christmas, I had a little pony come in with a choke. Are you familiar with choke, where they get something stuck? Christmas carrot toxicosis is what I called it. Anyway, so it got stuck in there, and I've got pictures of me sitting there going like this, holding an IV, trying to get this thing to pass this little miniature horse, to pass this carrot, and she finally passes it on Christmas Eve, and I call the owner and I say, she's passed it, Merv, get down here. I'm changing her. She's gone from being hospitalization to boarding, but boarding is $150 an hour. Get here now. And he was down within the hour, so to pick her up. So I always make turkey for Christmas, which is very unusual for Australia. Everybody does seafood for Christmas in Australia. But I have this cult following of Americans and a few of my friends that come because they want a Christmas turkey. So I've got the turkey in the oven, everything's going well, and I get a call from one of my really good clients that their neighbor's horse is run through some fences. And it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everybody's going to be there at 6. So we end up going to, I end up going there, and I had a friend who had stopped in early, and I said, watch the turkey. My kids were actually away too. I mean, it was like going to be a dream Christmas for me. And so I ended up going up to this horse that was really cut up on her hind legs. She had gone through a fence. Everybody that knew anything about the horse was not there. This woman's parents were there. Now, they never even went in the pen with her because they were afraid of her. They didn't tell me that, but that's the truth. And the lady that called me, that was my good client, she was still at her Christmas breakup dinner, and she said, I'll be there as quick as I can. So I go over the fence, catch this horse, bandage it all up. I'm getting ready to pull out a tetanus, because nobody knows if it had a tetanus or not, and started on some antibiotics. And I thought, well, I'll give them powder because I can see these are elderly people, but I'll start with a shot of penicillin just to get it going. And as I pulled up, as I went under the fence, the daughter said, she said, oh my God, what's going on? And I said, well, your horse went through a fence, it's really cut up. And she goes, yeah, but how'd you get the bandage on? I said, I just cleaned it up and put it on. She goes, did you try to sedate or anything? I went, no. I said, she was really good. And so she goes, I can't believe it. And so I said, well, I threw the rope over the fence, and I said, I just want to give her a tetanus and a penicillin. Bang, 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 and stuck the needle in, and that horse was gone. And she went through another fence. And she didn't cut herself that time, but by then, my neighbors, who were very, very good horse people, caught the horse, and between them and me, we were able to get her close and get so I could start. And the lady goes, and this horse is really old, and I'm really mad at this young lady that owns the horse, because she's burdened her parents for years. And this is something I found quite commonly in practice, that as a teenager or as a young girl, you get a pony or a horse, and then you go to school or go to college or move away, get married, and you leave the horse with your parents. And the parents feel guilty about not, wanting this horse to go. They don't want to do it anymore, but they love their daughter, and the daughter comes up to visit because the horse is there, and all those things. And so, we kind of discussed it a bit, and I said, there's no way you're going to treat this. And she goes, no. And I said, there's really nothing wrong with her. I said, and of course, I didn't know them. I wasn't their regular vet. The regular vet, who lived not very far away, was across town. That vet was across town every night after 6 o'clock. He was never, ever in his area. He was always across town. And so, which is a euphemism for I'm not taking the call right now, because it's Christmas Eve. So we, they talked about it, and they all conferred, and they came back and they said, well, will you euthanize her? And I said, and she was, she was at least 28, and the wounds were pretty bad, but I knew eventually they would heal, but no, who was going to take care of this? And so we ended up euthanizing her. So I came back, and I just was kind of consumed with guilt about everything. We started working on the turkey, and the same couple that called me originally called, and I said, go away, I don't even want to hear from you. And I'm thinking, did the horse wake up? What the heck happened? So they went, no. They said, there's another horse, there's a pony that belongs to a little girl, and we think it needs to be put down. We haven't been there yet, but they've told us. The reason they were called is because the husband, Rodney, is the main guy that buried his Rodney Warren. He buries 90% of the horses up in this particular area. So I'm going, oh my God. I said, I've got 10 people coming here in an hour. And they said, all you got to do is get up here, put the horse pony down. We promise you, from what they're telling me, it's not going to live. Its gums are purple, it's sweating, it's rolling around. So by then, 2 friends were there, and they said, what's going on? I said, oh, nothing. And they went, go. We're going to take care of dinner. So I leave again, and now I've got an hour until all of my guests are there. And I get up there, and there is about 8-year-old girl, and she is hysterical. And there is a little pony that is rolling around, and it's exactly what they said. The gums are purple, it's distended, it's kicking, it's sweating bullets, this pony is not going to live. But you couldn't even get close to it because it was rolling so violently that it would just throw its legs one way and throw its leg the other. And this girl is just absolutely hysterical. So I walk over to the parents, and my friends Rodney and Fiona are there by now. And they told me the story. This little girl worked for two summers doing odd things to be able to have a new halter, a new lead rope, and a blanket because she was going to Pony Club camp right after New Year's. And she'd had this pony for about a year. She loved the pony, but her goal was to go to Pony Club camp. Pony Club is huge in Australia. So, and it doesn't matter, Western, English, even racehorses, the kids go to Pony Club. So, so I am like starting to lose it. And I tried to, there was nothing. I knew this horse I knew I couldn't save this pony. I absolutely knew it. And so what I did was I just got down on my hands and knees and crawled up, and when it flipped back away from me, I just stabbed it with some multiple painkillers. And then I sat back. And then she's crying and she's, yelling, "Don't put him down, don't kill my horse." And the parents took the little girl, into the house, and there was a ton of people. It was in a round pen, a ton of people just standing around looking like this. And there was a variation of grief going on with these people, right from almost hysterical to older men standing there gripping that fence like you wouldn't believe, knowing how bad this was. So I got the job done, and people start to kind of stand back and kind of look away and stuff. There must have been 10 or 15 people. I don't remember exactly how many. And so the father comes back out of the house, and you can just hear the little girl wailing in the background. And I had a hard time finishing this. So the father comes, he says, "Well, how much do I owe you?" And I'm thinking about this euthanasia of convenience for this one family, and this terrible euthanasia for this other family. And I said, and I didn't even collect the money from the other people. I just said, "I'll send you a bill." I said, this is really an unusual situation, but I did one right before them. You can ask Fiona and Rodney, and they're standing kind of behind me. And I said, those people were so grateful that I came out that they paid me twice the amount. So you don't owe me anything. And I got my car. I drove down the road, and then boom, I lost it. Absolutely, just could not control myself for several minutes. Finally, got myself together. I got back to the house, and I ran into the office, which is attached, and used the water and stuff to clean myself off. I had dirt because I'd crawled, and just was just muddy. But the tears I probably had brown stains going down my face. Got that all cleaned up, got back into the house, got some new clothes on, and came back out. And everybody said, "How'd it go?" I said, "Great." So those are the kind of stories that I use in books. There's some other ones besides that. I will tell you one more really quickly. I went out to see a horse, and it is in one book. I went out to see a horse that had penile paralysis. You know what that is? They call it paraphimosis. The penis could not retract. I did a rectal on this horse, and he was a stallion, and he was equipped orchid. And they always say if you don't get that testicle in the abdomen out, you're going to get a tumor. And I'd seen so many that had never had a tumor. This one had a tumor, and it was so big. It took up, it was like this, inside the abdomen. So, and it belonged to this old man, and he himself did not have long to live. I could see it. And it's a multi-generational family. They're very, very poor. There's the father who's just going, she doesn't know what she's talking about, the grandfather. The kids are going, are you sure there isn't something? Can we just do surgery? Can we do this? We don't have $2 to put together, you know, but you know, it didn't matter. There was nothing you were going to fix with this. And there were these 3 or 4 kids, and one of my nurses went with me, and she was kind of distracting the 3 or 4 kids while we were having the hard discussion. And this little boy leaves, and he goes into the house, and he comes back out with this little book about care of ponies. And he said, is there any chance you would look at this and see if there's something here that you could help my grandpa's horse? So, all kinds of stories. Any questions?
I came in late. The spirochete. Were you talking about Potomac horse?
Yes.
In Australia.
Well, there is a spirochete diarrhea like that. They get a high fever. They look fine one night, and the next night they're in a pool of diarrhea. They've got a high fever. They looked exactly like Potomac horse fever horses. No, but they did find some spirochetes, and then they said, and I said, well, what are you going to do with it? They said, well, we threw it out. So that was one pathology lab. I didn't use them again for 20 years. I moved to a different one. And I said, if I send you one of these, and I told them why I was switching to this one, and I said, if I send you one of these, you need to go to great lengths to find out if, you know, what it is, and maybe do some PCRs, at least hold some blood and freeze it or something.
Do they have EPM in Australia?
No.
They don't have
Nope. No, they have they have possums. They aren't the same. They're just called possums, but no, they don't. Yeah. There's a few diseases. We had a outbreak of West Nile in Australia, and I had 50 cases. And I have videos. I'm sorry that we didn't do the thing, because you could see the pictures of all of these cases. I mean, I have everything. I don't have. There's some I don't have, but there's an awful lot of them that I do have, and I find ways to put these in these books.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, I have one thing to give away.
Oh,
So,
aren't you nice?
well, you have to answer a question. So, who knows what the capital of South Australia is? What did you say?
Is it Canberra?
No.
Perth,
No.
New South Wales?
No.
Christchurch,
No.
Sydney?
No.
We're not good at
Yeah. Well, neither was I. Trust me. Where am I going? I had no idea where this place was.
Adelaide?
Yes, you got it.
Wow, yay.
Adelaide.
That was a nice town. I like that.
Have you been there?
Yes. My 10th anniversary one for a month.
All right. Yeah.
Great.
Well, I've made 2 trips this year.
Uh-huh.
My kids still live there, and one of them was in ICU for 11 weeks.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I'm telling you, human practice isn't much better than here. For 5 weeks, I begged them to try a different antibiotic and consider a different bacteria, and they refused to. And finally I said, okay, I've had enough, I want a second opinion. And the second opinion agreed with me, and instantly she got better after 11 weeks of being in ICU.
Terrible.
So instead of using meropenem, which is hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day, they went to tetracycline, which is like $10 a week, and she got better. So happened.
Not going
Well,
down
it was it's such a long story, but basically they just because the bug that I was interested in was such a simple bug, it couldn't possibly be what's causing all these problems. I said, she's been on the same antibiotic for now, 8 weeks, and she's not any better. You've got to consider the other one. You know the other one's there. And they kept saying, well, it's just not that. And I said, she's immunocompromised.
She has MS and she's on a drug that suppresses her immune system. I said, do you want me to show you the papers? Oh, I've already read them. And they still wouldn't do it. So I finally got the second opinion guy. Bing. He said, yeah. And so they tested her. She was positive in her chest, in her abdomen, and her knee. And her knee is still bad. But she's getting better and she lived. And it was really touch and go. So anyway, yeah, but it's a beautiful city. Beautiful place to live. Just such, I mean, you can see from my stories, you probably wouldn't get these stories here. You know, people they aren't poor. They're not gonna, I don't know, there's just so many things that went on. It's a real rich story environment. It really is. I've just written another book for there, but it has very little to do with veterinary medicine. But I just love the area.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
My pleasure. Oh my God. Well, as I came over, I started feeling better and better and better. And then when I got here, I went, what are the drugs? I need the drugs.
Trust me, I understand that. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna flip through the next panel in 10 minutes, so that she's gonna use this one. So we have 10 minutes in between now and the next panel. And Charlie is gonna be behind. Are the names in there? They were the little.
I see a mini right here.
Yeah, okay, so they're in. So Charlie's gonna be doing his presentation, he's separating the people, over there with our little town. So we in two places, because I can't walk over without the bottom.
Oh my goodness, I did not see this creature. Oh my, it matches